Well, David, one thing that I know you're very passionate about is us going to the nations to reach unreached peoples. Can you talk a little bit about that, and then maybe also how that's going to require somewhat of a sacrifice of the American dream on our part?
The reality is there's 6,000 plus people groups in the world right now that are unreached with the gospel, meaning less than 2% evangelical Christian. That in most of those people groups, the chances are you would be born, live, and die without ever really having access to the gospel. And in our day, with all the resources God's entrusted to us, most importantly being the gospel, there's no reason why that should be the case. We have to take our lives, the churches God has put us in, and ask God to spend us for His name's sake among all nations. The need is too great. Jesus has told us very specifically, go to all the people groups. And there are many people groups that have not heard the gospel. So it's a command from Christ. We must go to them. This is not an option. This is not well, then maybe that's for me. Maybe I'm not called to that. The reality is we were created for this and have been commanded to do this. And not just pastors or missionaries. I think the beauty is when every follower of Christ in the church realizes that we were all created for the glory of God in all nations. And when businessmen and businesswomen begin to leverage their companies for the sake of the spread of the gospel in all nations, when every follower of Christ with the different gifts and skills and talents and passions that God has given to us, when we say, how can we use those? Not to get more stuff and have an easier life, a better, more successful life in this context, to forsake the American dream and say, no, my life is created to take the gospel to the ends of the earth as a part of the community of faith called the church, and I'm going to settle for nothing less than that. And that's a much greater dream to live for. The dream of a day when every nation and tribe and people and language are going to bow around the throne of Christ and sing praises to Him for His salvation. This is what drives us. And when that drives us, when we realize, and I think this is the key, this world is not our home. And when we really believe that, then we're free from a desire and a quest for security and safety and success in the stuff of this world. We're free from that completely, and we're free to go into dangerous places. We're free to go into difficult places in the world, and we're free to spend our lives because we know that to live is Christ and to die, though, is gain. And so radical obedience to Christ makes total sense because the reward is great. And so when we really believe that, I think we will run with passion after the nations. And I pray that it'll be so.